So moving on. Empathy. Empathy is essentially understanding someone else's thoughts or feelings. In order to empathize with someone, essentially you have to be a bit selfless as far as what the other person is saying and what the other person is feeling. So this requires a little bit of emotional and mental maturity, because it's going to be a little difficult for you to empathize with someone who may be expressing their viewpoint, their feelings, their thoughts, their beliefs on a certain topic, especially if it's one that you don't agree with. If it's one that you don't agree on, it's going to be a bit difficult for you to have this thing called empathy. Now, when you're having empathy or expressing empathy, understand that empathy is more so about seeing. You know that movie Avatar, when they kept saying, I see you, I see you, I see you? That type of seeing. Seeing what that other person is saying, seeing where they're coming from, understanding where they're coming from. And in order to actually understand where someone is coming from, you have to make sure that you are open mentally to receiving what it is that they're saying and looking at it not from your own standpoint, but from their standpoint. And when you are able to look at something that someone else is saying from their standpoint versus your own, now you can actually see what they're saying. Empathy is something that you have to practice. It's something that you have to practice because it takes a certain level of mental skill set, a certain level of mental agility to be able to have your viewpoint, your opinion on a thing, and someone gives their opinion on that same thing. And to be able to look at what they're saying and say, okay, yeah, I see what you're saying, and not feel that you are jeopardizing what you think, what you feel concerning that very same thing. This takes a lot of understanding. Empathy is definitely a big part of the art of conversation. The last part, nonverbal cues. Nonverbal cues. How willing are you to continue speaking to someone and they're just sitting there just looking at you like this? No expression, no acknowledgement that they hear what you're saying. You kind of feel judged, right? Because usually that type of staring into you is almost like someone analyzing you to see if you're telling the truth or not. So while you're trying to express something to somebody, they're just looking at you or not really showing that they're paying attention to what you're saying, that can take what could potentially be a good conversation and just railroad it right into the ground. How do we avoid that? Non-verbal cues. Say, yeah, yeah, I got you. I understand. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that is crazy that would happen. I can see why that would be scary. All these things like that. And understand that it takes a certain level of genuineness in order to give these nonverbal cues correctly, because we tend to pick up on micro expressions very well. So we can tell when someone is genuinely listening to us and genuinely, go on. Yeah. We can tell when it's genuine versus when it's just something that you're just saying because you don't want to be there. You're tired of hearing them. You're like, because it's going to be misplaced. All your ahas are going to be misplaced. All of your yeah, that's crazy. All of that's going to be misplaced. It's not going to make sense the way that you're going to put it in certain places that the person is trying to talk to you, what they're saying. It's not going to gel well. And it's going to be obvious that you're not truly listening, actively listening. So this requires, you can't give correct nonverbal cues without actively listening. And the good thing about all these different parts of conversation, the active listening, the taking turns, the empathy, the nonverbal cues, they all require each other. They all need each other in order to work, in order to be effective. So, as we can see, having an actual conversation, the art of conversation, is much more than organized noises just being tossed out there, just into the air, and something magically happens or is magically understood. Having a conversation, a good conversation, requires a lot of thinking, requires a lot of practice, requires a lot of preparation. So it helps to be knowledgeable on several different topics. And the beautiful thing about transferable knowledge is when you're very knowledgeable on one thing, and you're very knowledgeable on another thing, and you're very knowledgeable on another thing, the knowledge that is here can be transferred to the knowledge here, which can be transferred to the knowledge here. And they all interplay with each other. And because of these things, now you're able to develop new levels of knowledge on different things. And now when another thing comes around, now because you have all these different knowledges interplaying with each other, you're able to grasp onto that new thing so easily and add that to the mix. So now you're that much more knowledgeable. Now you're that much more pleasant to have a conversation with. Because you know things. You're able to contribute to the dance. So, how do you practice conversation? How do you practice conversation? Well, it takes a lot. It takes a lot of studying, it takes a lot of practicing. But when you visit stylebymrreed.com, and you take a look around, you see what speaks to you, and you book your session with me, you and I will work together, and we will go over the art of conversation, we'll go over the art of argument, we'll go over how to do the two, the difference between the two, when one is necessary, when is the other necessary, and how to help this to contribute to your overall presentation package. So, reach out in the comments below, reach out at info@stylebymrreed.com. Let's get you started on that path, that journey to go from where you are to where you want to be, to get you to the best you that you can be. And I'm simply going to be your mirror check before you hit that front door. So, folks, thank you all for sitting back, relaxing, hopefully taking notes, and listening to our talk for today. So, the art of conversation. Study it, learn it, apply it, and watch it make